Hi Namit, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you, Namit, for joining me for our session where I will be asking you to share your application journey to Oxford with us. So let's just start back, take this journey back to when you called us first. Namit, when you decided that you wanted to reapply, you were somebody who had already applied last year. You were considering to reapply this year because after interviewing at HEC last year, my understanding was that you did not get the final admit. And that left a little hole, and you realized that you needed a consultant to help you in this journey. So tell me about those days where you decided that you needed to work with a consultant. Why did you choose to work with LilacBuds specifically amongst all the consultants? Maybe that would be a great starting point.
Last year after my rejection to one or two of the colleges, then I got to know maybe I need to structure my answers more and, maybe discuss with someone who is experienced as to how I can project what I want from, an MBA and how, let's say for different schools that I'm applying, how they can individually help me in that career journey. And last year, as I had applied to HEC, so I think a lot of research and can be done through experience that comes from various consultants, because they have the experience of sending people to different schools, so they know obviously what factors some schools might look at. And it is very difficult if you want to research that on your own, because on your own you might contact some seniors, or on your own you might contact limited people, whereas through that you get that community as well, where you can maybe connect with someone who has already been there, or maybe you can get to know, okay, people, what the people who got admitted last year whereas I did not get admitted was different, or where I was lacking in some of the areas. So majorly that was one of the reasons as to how basically I can structure my approach more, because that was something which I felt was missing last year, as well as, let's say, help me in shortlisting which schools might be better to basically fit my profile for. So let's say if I have a certain profile, and I traditionally come from a engineering background, so not much of consulting experience, or maybe not much of front end experience. So how the advice, whereas what I felt is these consultants, they have experience of such people as well who go get through, because I have some friends who have gone through to different schools and colleges who might be having more or less the same profile as me. Then while I like, but I think I did some initial research, and there was a lot of good opinions on different platforms, such as you can say LinkedIn or Quora, or connecting with, let's say, Indian students. So there was only positive reviews about that, and specifically uh, there was one thing that since obviously this is very important that you have the experience of sending people to those schools. So anyone who is willing to join might want to will be looking at that factor as well. Apart from, obviously, all the consultants have a certain way of going about with things, but someone who has achieved success is, you think about it, okay, then there is a chance I might also get through, because there might be things that I might be doing wrong which can go right this time around. And so that was one of the major reasons. I think the positive reviews, as well as when I talked with your team, what I thought in my mind about the support that I required specifically, which which was missing obviously last year, because I had applied on my own and did my research on my own. So I felt that was the best the decision that I should take at that time.
Okay, makes sense. And then what was your primary concern, right? Like when you came in, I remember having this conversation after you got onboarded with us about the challenges in your profile, right? And every student who comes to us generally has some sort of challenges that they feel they're worried about. As you said, right? Experience with handling different students comes by seeing a lot of different profiles. We also figured out that there were some positives, like, the kind of work that you had done, the kind of accomplishments you had, along with the community that you're developing on the pickleball side, and things are on the positives. But talk about what are your chief concerns, that you felt were preventing you from getting to the outcome that you had hoped either last year or even could have been this year.
So I think the thing is, what I feel is, after, first of all, obviously, even when I did my research, so in India, generally people who do MBA do it around 2 or 3 years of work experience. Whereas, so, when you think, okay, let's maybe try for an MBA, then when you research, you get to know, okay, there are a lot of people, generally the average experience for Indian students is 6 to 7 years. And it might go up depending on the gender as well, because I don't know how, these schools do their criteria shortlisting. So obviously, first of all, my experience was a bit less. So currently, it's just a little above 4.5 years. And then secondly, the thing was I was more into a, trading role where it's more of an individual contributor role. So throughout the accomplishments that I had in my professional life were just, making my own strategies, working individually. And obviously these MBA programs, all of them have a huge focus on diversity, where you are, expected to work with diverse teams. Then they also have a huge focus on leadership. So although I, as you said about my community and everything, but I was lacking leadership in, my professional work, because I did not get an opportunity to do so. I feel I feel I am also equally talented as other people who might be going to these good schools, but they had that experience with them. Maybe also I came from a startup, work experience. I've been like working in with startups throughout my professional life, or I have never got a chance to work in a MNC and work in their big offices and get that diversity feel. So these were some of the challenges. Obviously, if you're working in a startup, not many people in that business school who evaluate your profile might be knowing about that company, right? So all those concerns were there with me. And specifically, I am more of a tech guy. So like I have done my graduation in mathematics, and not many of business related projects, or not many of business related client work I have been following in my profile. So that was some of the concerns, because I feel I am equally talented, but the thing is that people who have had that experience, they might get that edge
No, I
when
think
interviews. Mhm.
no, I think very good points. But the fact that you had a mathematics background was actually one of your strong differentiators, in my opinion. And we spoke about that when you started out with us, right? Like not a lot of people, a lot of people come from computer science backgrounds, but not a lot of them come from maths and stats kind of backgrounds. The fact that you were continuing to contribute in an individual contributor capacity was a definite area of concern. But at the same
Right.
time, you had made strong, like you're driven strong outcomes for your current employer. And at the same time, your prior experience working with American Express, which was an MNC, by the way, right, which was in a strong, even though it was only a year, but you had that 1 year of
Right.
MNC experience, which adds some brand value to the CV overall as well. So the shorter experience, understandable, the individual contributor role were definite concerns, but your GMAT was strong, right? You had a 695 on your GMAT, is that right?
685, I think.
685 on the GMAT, right? And that was a strong number, and wasn't like, that you were struggling there. So your maths background had helped you get the 685 as well. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about the application journey. We applied to very many schools. You got quite a few interviews. Share that information, I think.
Yeah, so I basically applied to, I think, 10 to 12 schools, I think, overall, which included, so my preference was, just because of my personal preference, I wanted to, go into Europe. And specifically, since I come from a financial background, as you said, and so that's why I, wanted to venture into finance. And that's why London was one of the priorities, because, in Europe, obviously, London is there as the big financial hub. But I also applied to some US schools as well, because it gives you a chance to have those 2 years of experience during the MBA program. Generally, European schools are a bit shorter, and they have 1 to 1.5 years of work experience. So majorly, I think the calls that I got for interviews were from UK, as well as good European schools. So I got interview calls from INSEAD, IESC, then Oxford, Cambridge, and Imperial. So these were the five colleges that I got a call from. And obviously Oxford is a good school for finance, because of their impact thing as well, and then they have financial labs and everything there. So it was one of the schools on my target list. And so yeah, in whole, that was the journey of starting with the applications, essays for different schools, and how to basically approach
Oh,
each school differently.
so Oxford is one place, of course, where you're going right now, but you did these interviews with INSEAD and IESC, which are also eye-opening in different ways, right? Like you mentioned about how I know we did not get the admit to INSEAD and we did not get the admit to IESC, but the feedback that we got, I think, along the way was important, that INSEAD values the internationality aspect a whole lot, something that we were even though we got the interview and even though we prepared for it, and you were really trying to get your message across that I'm ready for this. And of course, the branding and the ranking, and INSEAD is an aspirational school for a lot of people. But being in the finance sector, the questions were like, okay, you are a finance professional, as well as you lack the internationality aspect. Those were factors that might be held against you. But I think the fact that you did an interview, how did you feel about that, right? And that and ISC for that matter. How did you feel about those?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, INSEAD is obviously a top school, and I mean, I feel obviously, so my both interviews they were with alums who had passed out from a similar country. So one of the alums, I went to her house in South Delhi. She invited me for coffee, and then she have it was a very informal discussion, but I had very good interviews. I mean, the second interviewer was from Dubai, but he's an India-based person who is now working in Dubai. So we had a video call over Zoom only. But they both mentioned that I have a very good profile, and they can't acknowledge the work experience that I have done and the achievements that I've achieved throughout my journey in different startups, as well as doing some research work and publishing them. However, I think their feedback was at least on a positive side for me, that they mentioned that maybe having more of a international experience, which is like staying outside and working outside for some time, might help me get a grip of the INSEAD curriculum, as well as deep dive with the other students that come over there, right? So I felt that there was nothing else that I could have done differently in the interview to crack INSEAD. I mean, it was my profile was good. It was just they needed someone who had that experience of living outside, handling things on his own. And that is something that they advised me, that you maybe take it 1 year or 2 year, you spend some time working on a job which is outside India, get accomplished to working with international professionals, and then maybe you can reapply. So they said that as well, you don't see it as a rejection, but you see it as a inspiration for upcoming years.
Chance to come back
Similarly
stronger
with
with a
IESC,
slightly different profile in general.
yeah, similarly with IESC, I felt it was also, so one of my friends, close friends, is from the college, and that is why I had applied, because of one, though obviously IESC has been doing very good on rankings, and then secondly they have a they have a very good international diversity classroom, and that goes through and from India as well. So I had a very good interview. Maybe they have these assessments. I don't know. I tried to do well, but you never know what reasons they have for not selecting you as such, and you cannot take it personally, because it does not mean that you are not fit for MBA, or you're not fit from a top MBA. It could be many reasons. It could be your work ex is a bit less, could be that they have certain preferences because it's a consulting school, and I never had any client facing experience in my professional journey.
Got it.
So many people might be coming from a similar background like me, because in India engineering is dominating, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
people do engineering, and then they are non-client facing roles. These are those back-end roles. However, I feel you are creating a lot of impact in these roles as well. It does not mean that you always create impact in front of clients, but it is just that since it is an MBA program, it's not a MS program. So they might prefer candidates who have done that client-facing roles, because that is generally what you will do after your MBA also. So I don't think I could have prepared any differently. I mean, I see it as a positive from what I received from INSEAD as well as IESC. But then I'm happy. Okay, then I got the next school in list, which was Oxford, because that was on my priority, and
Correct.
that interview went well. And also considering that I applied a bit late, I was worried about it, because obviously, as apply a bit late, your chances, anyways, it can happen that it goes a bit down. But so yeah, I mean, if not INSEAD, then Oxford is also another good school only.
No, no, it's not only, but I'm guessing it's not coming from a place where, you are disappointed for sure. You're definitely excited and
Right,
happy about it. That's how it is. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I remember having that conversation after you did not get the INSEAD accept, and that's part of the journey. I think the MBA application journey is never a straight line path saying, yeah, yeah, I got the interview call, so hence I will get the admit. Of
right,
course, we do hope that would be the case, but to get to the application, and I think INSEAD was one of the toughest applications. You'll probably agree. The amount of questions, the depth of questions, everything is has already got you to the place where they feel confident to give you an interview. I think that is what counts. And then Yeah, you know what, doesn't matter if we did our best, like the feedback you got, the connection with the alums, those are all valuable experiences that I think you'll
Right.
hold dear. And you got some great feedback there, things that you would improve upon as you go forward in your career. Not that you're not, going to wait for INSEAD at this point, but you're moving on with Oxford, and it's a great fit given the London experience that you're looking for also. So with that, I think the next question is going to be, you've spoken about the interviews, of course, and the readiness that you had. Talk to me about what are the most difficult part of the essay, or which was the essay that you found most tricky, and where you felt like, working with a consultant really made it worthwhile.
I mean, first of all, obviously, one of the basic essays that they have is the, what are your, or how do you see an MBA, enhancing your profile? So they are very concerned of, let's say, what you are doing right now. And if you are like, I am in this company from the past, maybe 4 years almost now. So I think if, sticking to a startup is not easy, you have to perform and then I must be enjoying my work. So then obviously they want to know the reasons as in why would you want to leave such a, good opportunity and then you shift outside. So that is one of the trickiest questions as to how an MBA will help you, and then secondly, how will that particular school help you? So these, I think, from the reviews that I got from my friends as well in different who have done these MBA programs in some other times in their life, these schools are very much focused on how they can also help you. So if you have some aims which are like they feel that might not be accomplished, then however good your profile might be, they might not consider you because they might feel that the school might not be able to place you where you want to be. So it was very important to identify what are the strengths of each particular school, and coming from your profile, how can you use those strengths to enhance yourself. So for example, if I say about Oxford, so they have this impact thing. So I wanted to create more impact in my job, which in my current role I am not creating any impact for people who are living in this world. So that was one of the major centric areas around which I based my Oxford essay. Similarly for IESC, they value diversity a lot. So I have brought into my pickleball experience into my essays, where I have been playing and working with different country professionals who are staying in India. So like many Chinese friends I have made through pickleball, and then there are many South Asian friends that I have made. So I think that was one of the key areas to identify, okay, what schools are exactly looking for in how you can enhance your experience to bring out the best in you for that particular school,
Yeah,
because they also want that you get the best experience from them.
absolutely. So very, very much on point. I think, connecting your goals with what the school is able to deliver and your skills with what you want to enhance and to reach those goals, I think was very essential in all schools pretty much, not just Oxford and INSEAD, but also all the others as
Right.
well. Awesome. With that, like, think last question for me would be, what would be your top feedback point to aspirants who are now looking to apply to an Oxford? What do you think would your feedback be? Like, these are two, three things that you should definitely do if you're looking to aim at Oxford or a Cambridge or something similar in the league of schools that you are applying to. What would your feedback be for them?
So I think, sir, I think first of all, it's it's a difficult process, because you have to put in, let's say, you first of all you have to crack the GMAT, get a little above their Indian averages that they have for for Indian students. Then you also have to take care of these essays, as you mentioned, working with consultants or however you prepare those essays. Then for the interviews, you have to connect with a lot of alums. So for Oxford, I would say connecting with alums is very important, because they want to see how much you have researched about the school. So you can connect with different Indian alums, or maybe you can connect with different alums from anywhere in the country, and you can just learn from their experience. What things did they like the most about the school, and then it's really important, because since you are shifting homes, so let's say if I'm going to Oxford or anyone else is going to NCR, so the next maybe 2-3 years will be most probably in that country, or maybe around that at least continent. So you need to be clear, okay, what are your post goals after your MBA, because it's a 1 year MBA after all. So time might fly away quickly, and then you need to just start there, and just reach there and start working on your profile, connecting with people. So I feel networking is very important, before the interview as well, and after the interview, for if you get selected, to get to know, okay, what are the processes of landing there, what kind of preparation do you need to do beforehand, because one of the things is that you have to get a job yourself. there is a limited support in generally outside India. So you have to do all those things by yourself. So I would say connect with different people, get to know what are the strengths of that particular school, which is very important. How the school will benefit you, you should be aware of that. Like, let's say if there are some professors that you are really interested to work with, or let's say there are some clubs that you are really interested to lead over there at Oxford, or maybe INSEAD, or any other school that you are applying to.
Yes, absolutely. All right, good, valuable tips. I hope people who listen to this will definitely imbibe some of these ideas and see what they would, connect with you, maybe as an Oxford alum, possibly, right, at that point in time when they see the video and learn from your experiences as well. But thank you once again, Namit, for taking the time to do this testimonial with us, and wishing you the best as you start your journey at Oxford later this year. And of course, we'll be following and tracking you in terms of knowing how your experience has been at one of the best schools in the world, and how do you hope to continue teaching your goals and aspirations. All right. Thank you once
So,
again, Namit.
thank you.